Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to OGA Rainbow Pit Closed Qualifiers. I'm Captain Fluke, and I'm joined by Sternab, back on the desk after a couple of days off, or just a day off?
1 day off,
One day off. How was it? Nice?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, pretty good so
Oh,
far.
that's
So
good.
I feel refreshed and relaxed, and we're ready to get into NA.
That's good, because it's going to be high energy today. There's a lot of big games, there's a lot of big matches, and there's a lot of big teams that all of you will be very much aware of as we jump to the wonderful bracket that has been provided to us. There we go. There we go. You take us through some of these games, because you know your NA. You're big in America.
I think the kind of only big unexpected results were maybe Akatsuki versus Adventure Force, because Akatsuki on paper is the better team, but Adventure Force actually in their CL play day came out better on that half. So maybe to some kind of expected. So very, very close game between those two. Rogue versus Okami. I think if anyone's watched that match, if you haven't watched that match, definitely go back and watch it, because that was a hell in a cell play day, but Rogue eventually made it out. And I think like kind of the rest of the results were expected. Sonics had a very close game against Orglers, which really could have gone either way, but eventually Sonics did triumphant. And now we're getting into deciding our last quarterfinal, but we'll also have our first quarterfinal of NA.
That's it. That's our big finale, is the real word I meant to say there, on tonight, which will be SSG versus Adventure Force. And Adventure Force, they're pretty heated up now. They've obviously, unfortunately, been relegated from CL based on the end of the seasoning, I believe. But they have this opportunity to beat SSG and kind of keep their names on the market. And at the same time, SSG, obviously, this is what they're playing for now. So it's not going to be an easy fight. But also, we've got the two other games to find out our quarterfinals. First, EG versus Shrug. And again, this is obviously Evil Geniuses. They were very bitterly close to getting that second place on the Pro League. Shrug, in the meantime, unfortunately ended last at the end of the season based on a round difference. They find themselves at the bottom of the CL table. So it's kind of the very top versus the very bottom in that kind of grand scheme of things of Tier 1 and Tier 2. But you never really know, because we've already seen some kind of unknown NA teams bring a hell of a fight to a game.
Yeah, no, we have. I think Aetherius was one of the ones as well that maybe kind of unknown, but it's actually the second best team in the Mexican Nationals Championship.
Yeah.
So they're actually an organized team, and they did actually put up a decent fight during Border against SSG. So we have definitely seen some good showings. I think the closest we've seen is Okami take out Rogue almost very, very, very closely. That match was a bit weird, and we won't go too much into it, but
it was a fight. It was a fight
Yes.
worth watching. But we'll jump into the map bans now between EG and Shrug. We'll get into the middle game when we come to the middle game, but for now, let's jump into this map ban to keep everything moving.
Sure.
Evil Geniuses. They have a lot up their sleeve. They've got a lot to play for today. They dislike Border and Clubhouse are their usual two bans, which is actually maps that Shrug have been okay on.
Yeah, I feel like EG still has the better map pool than Shrug does. Obviously, Shrug not having a great end to their Challenger League season, but they actually had a decent start to their Challenger League season with an impressive win against Rise. So you ended up in relegation. It's kind of weird how it's been flipped on its head now, but yeah, I feel like with EG, with their map bans, I'm kind of mostly just looking at the second half of the season, because they had a pretty big roster changes moving into that second half with the loss of their IGL in Canadian and the loss of their coach in Gotcha. So they picked up Modigger now, and we'll see how the rest of this is going to be going through and what they'll be banning. But they had a really devastating defeat on Consulate against Dark Zero during their last play day, but they will ban out Border, as you predicted, first of all. So yeah, we've never seen them go to Border. That's pretty much insta-ban for them.
And the thing is, it's a smart insta-ban today, because as I said, from some of the points that Shrug were able to pull during their CL season, it was on Border. I believe potentially 2 of the games might have been on Border where they got some points on the board. So it's a smart move from EG. Border's one of those kind of get fraggy matches, and it doesn't or hasn't really had a habit of working well for them so far. In the meantime, Shrug, they have the option of, well, where do they not really want to take Evil Geniuses 2, and it's going to be Bank. They're going to opt to remove, and I think that's a fair removal against a team like EG.
Yeah, they did have a really impressive win against Space Station earlier in the season, so that's definitely a good ban to take away from EG, but EG's map pool now is still pretty good. Like, they've had decent wins against TSM on Coast during just the start of the second half of the season, and then also Villa against Reciprocity. So they definitely still have a decent map pool. I think also they're going to want to try and go to maps that they've already played in Pro League, so they don't give away too much going, because this is only their first match.
Yeah.
Out of a couple more they still have to win if they do win this one. So they probably aren't going to want to give away too much. Maybe want to go back to maps they've already played. Let's have a look at what their first map pick is in this series. Remember, it's a best of 3, and it's going to be Clubhouse.
Okay,
Ooh.
that's a fair decision, because again, Shrug haven't had the best time on it, and yes, it is often a second ban for EG, but it's more because they don't really want to take a... It's a weird way of saying it, a fair fight there. Clubhouse is kind of the secondary one to border of one where everyone generally knows the default strats, everyone knows how to run it, and they're very familiar with it, and that in a way plays into, I guess, just how they don't want to really reveal too much today. So it's something that they don't usually pick too much, but at the same time, it's expected what they're going to be doing on it.
Yeah.
We have seen some creativity across the basement point from some of these NA teams, which included holding very heavily the very top floor and that kind of stuff. So we could see a bit of kind of aggression coming out as well, but I guess we'll see how Shrug respond.
Yeah, I can get away with that kind of mentality. It's going to be a consulate pick here for Shrug, which I think is a decent pick for them, considering that EG recently haven't been looking too great there on consulate. They also lost to BDS during their third place game on consulate, so during DreamHack.
Yeah, it's the thing about consulate as well. Again, it kind of lends itself to a potentially aggressive play style. I mean, I think it was a tweet from Flynn earlier today who was surmising his day, and the middle of it is going to be broken up by what he expects to be a 14-0 to EG. So with that mentality, you assume they're going to bring some kind of aggression, because that's what we've seen from some of these NA teams that are like, well, we're just going to play it. We're just going to throw ourselves at this map. And in a weird way, Consulate can kind of reward that sometimes.
It definitely can, and you can be very, very aggressive here. And EG haven't had the best time recently. I was just going to say that Shrug have kind of a bad decision to make now, because 2 of these maps left in the map pool were pretty good ones for them. Coast and Villa both been recent wins for EG. But Shrug is going about Villa. I don't think many people like going to Villa these days after we saw the GT versus Augulus game and seeing just how defender-sided you can really make that map. So we're going to be left to Coastline and Cafe, and I think it's going to be obvious that EG are going to pick up Coastline here, although we could see them pick up Cafe. They've been pretty decent on Cafe recently as well. But yeah, it's going to be Coastline for the decider. If we do indeed get there, don't forget it's a best of 3 series. You only need 2 maps to take it, so we may not even go to our decider.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to open up with the Clubhouse, the Consular, and then we finish off the journey through the seas in Coastline as the final one. Again, that final map, it is an aggressive map. It's been the most structurally attacker and defended balanced out of the entire tournament so far in terms of total rounds won versus rounds played. So it kind of has a very good situation for some teams where, say you're on Villa and you start an attack and you hit that half-time and maybe you're looking at a 5-1, maybe you're looking at a 6-0, even though you know that this is a map that is structured one way, that's a big mental kind of thing to get past. And when you're in a mental balance against a big team on top of that, it can be a bit nightmarish. So being able to take some rounds, maybe scrappily, maybe not so, it will probably help them as they progress.
Yeah, Shrug really needs this to go to decider, because I just do not see them taking Consulate here. But Club can be a good map for Shrug here, and it's kind of surprising that, you know, EG would take them here, given that EG don't really go here normally, and we said about how maybe they don't want to really go here too much, and you know, yeah, we will see. I think that there's definitely potential for Shrug to bring this to our third map. I mean, hell, I think they could win on Club. I think they could win on Consulate. Coastline's a bit of an iffy one, I think. It can go either way.
Yeah,
we've seen pretty dominant performance from EG on Consulate.
It's that style of map as well. But also, it's the same kind of idea. One of the big things that we've seen happen to a lot of our Pro League teams is they haven't massively shown up at first. A lot of the Challenger League teams especially, and then even some of the Tier 3 teams have kind of hit the door sprinting and they've rolled back into it. And I guess we'll see if that is something that translates into this game as well, as we hop into the very first map of the day, Clubhouse now.
That is a good point, because we did have Luminosity go 4-0 down to Disrupt earlier. And then all of a sudden Luminosity just woke up and completely rolled over them.
Yeah, it's a habit that we're seeing from a couple of these teams. It's a habit that is unfortunately sometimes hard to break, because when there's a lot of expectations on you, and it's the whole breakdown of the mental side of Siege. If you've got these expectations and if you're expected to take it, and then suddenly with the force of 1,000 rabid dogs, you have an entire team wailing against you, it becomes a bit of a tight kind of fight there. Shrug take Maverick out first as they remove it from Clubhouse, and that is a fairly familiar and common face on this ban screen.
Yeah, I would assume that Evil Genius would take Capital off the board, but it really could be anything. A Thatcher ban we've seen previously, as well as a Habana ban. It's going to be a Jackal ban. Huh.
Potentially wanting to try some of the aggressive holds we talked about a bit earlier. Obviously,
Sure.
Jackal can play with the space on this map, sure. Has the shotgun as well for certain destructibility purposes. If you're looking at, say, the corridor outside kitchen, if you're looking at a lot of, there's potential there to bring that shotgun and cause some devastation. Upwards and downwards if they're holding cash hold as well, and just being able to scan feet and take care of that floor becomes a big problem. But at the same time, it's, again, how are we going to see EG approach this map?
Well, yeah, it'll be a mirror ban from them, and Shrug will lock it out with an Echo ban, so it is going to leave Maestro up on the board, as well as all the hard breach denial, as well as Cade. We've seen a lot of Cade bans recently, or Cade, if you want to pronounce it properly.
I go by Milosh pronunciation.
Sure.
I'm from the school of how Milosh says words, because he seems to know a lot of words.
He does.
He could just be lying about it, because I barely speak one language. So when he does the interviews, he could just be making stuff up and making me look like a fool. But that's likely, yeah. Kaid often gets taken out of this. It's the hatch control. You're always going to see hard destruction. At least one of them taken off, usually a Maverick or a Hibana, just to kind of limit. Occasionally a Thermite gets taken off, but it's less as seen, because if you've got a decent Maverick player, if you're looking at Cash Balcony, if you're CCTV Balcony, if you're looking at hatches, Maverick can make work of those two.
Interesting, we're actually going to have Capitao up as well, of course, and Modigger is going to be bringing that along from Evil Geniuses. And we'll have a look exactly how EG want to crack things off here on Clubhouse. A bit of an interesting fact here as well, we don't have too many Mexican players in the Tier 1 Rainbow Six scene, but we actually see two of them against each other. It's going to be Gio versus Mexican. And yeah, there we go, there's two Mexican players. You don't often see that. I think Gio is the only Tier 1 Mexican player right now.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, if I'm honest. You always see the little flags pop up.
Yeah.
But yeah, the NA scene, as I said before, it's something that I'm not new to. You always watch it from the kind of sidelines, but it's always on so late at night, and you are up late at night and well invested in the NA scene.
I just don't sleep.
You don't sleep. You're like you're a robot that is built for Siege. And watching and kind of witnessing and learning about it. Well, here is a very bold hold. Not loading, trying to find the opening frag against a man that might be a little bit too overzealous as he rotates and tries to find the initial hold against this. Swings the shot and then instantly changes his mind with Wrath doubling up on the top balk just to cover any quick pace. But this is EG being as fast as they want to. Send Papi Gio, more commonly known as Geometrics, is cracking open on logistics and instantly putting pressure against construction as they double up, set the standard Claymore, and they're going to potentially try and crack open this back of Garage wall and get the angle from the Hibana charges to then take control of Garage.
Shrug have absolutely no roam game in that master side, and you'll often see that pro teams recognize that and will just instantly take that control. And you can already see that Gio has started to do that, as well as looks like NVK up on the roof is me doing his work as well. Raft is very conscientious of this as well. But this isn't looking too good for Shrug because EG already just have insane amounts of control. They're going to be opening up this top garage Rafters bit so they can cut off the rotations, and Capitao should be able to do some work there, but they're just about getting set up to open up this wall. The only hard breach now that Shrug actually have right now is, of course, a Mexican up on that Kaid. So it will start to go out. Mexican is still below, but it's going to be loading. It takes Necrox off the board instantly. Already the Maestro going to be going down. Clutcher getting ready for this dirt run out as well. He's loading, playing his life patiently around the rafters, but a lot of control still going towards EG right now. As loading still conscious about his rotate being cut off, but it's going to be Young who's going to open up the garage from below, potentially MVK getting in there to go for an early nade.
Well, as I said, when we saw, they're setting themselves up to get control of this garage side, but they've also generally dug in underneath. It seems like they're generally going to leave Gio to try and cause as much attention as the way of the Thatcher as they quickly get this door open, but this is never really the be-all and end-all, I say, as Maestro gets completely dropped there for just kind of rotating a little bit too aggressively. And I guess that's kind of par for the course of how we've seen this Maestro kind of move around on those rafters so far. Aggressive is a soft word for it. The rest of the bodies start to funnel up from this side as Gio closes against, well, just kind of drones up the stairs and makes sure Red's clear before he finds his way in and finds another body, drops the other Mexican in the game, and there is another one falling to the power of Geo as he just keeps his roll across. Jaeger finds one battling back and tries to stop the diffuser plant go off, but there is the cover from MVK and the C4 from Cloudstruck.
Yeah, that's going to deny the plant going down. Cloudstruck does have that super shorty shotgun in his back pocket. Modigger is going to try and go for the plant right now. Now in a 1v2. Modigger and NVK both very, very low HP. Cloudstruck goes for the rotate. Diffuser does get planted down. He's got to know it's in cache. Rotates all the way through into server. Keeps going for those pre-fires as well. Almost barely messing the members of EG, but eventually is going to get caught out. And Evil Geniuses, with a great entry from Geo, is going to take the round. And this is looking very good for them so far. And Geo is just... he's just so good.
They seemed like they were missing a little bit of kind of denial on Geo's entry there. He was free, sure, with a hell of a lot of skill to be able to roll in and start taking down bodies in and amongst the kind of core. And the only thing that really was stopping him for a duration of time was that Maestro, playing on the top there with the big gun to hold the cross angle. As soon as that was gone, and they realized, well, no one's on the top of Red, we can just kind of swing in here and put body down after body down after body down, because the Thatcher they assume is going to get an entrance, make sure it's a little bit comfortable. He's done his work at that point. He's exit fragging for his life. He's dropping bodies and putting up his score. But then there was nothing to stop the immediacy of him taking control there.
Yeah, I mean, I think EG did the right thing there with a kind of heavy entry from Geo, because the way that Shrug were playing that, they had 3 C4s available up from both the Mozzie, the Valkyrie, and the Kayad, which is now not being picked this time. It's going to be Mexican, switching up onto the dock instead, which I think is a big surprise, honestly, because that was their only hard reach now, and they were playing it below, trying to put electricals down from below and just holding that lounge area, which I think actually, honestly, for a while was going quite well for them, but unfortunately it's not meant to be, and Shrug are not going to bring any hard breach now, which honestly, not massively upset by, because I don't think EG were having any issues getting that wall open, especially with Capital.
The thing is, teams never do nowadays. There's 1,001 ways to get into that wall and get anyone off that's otherwise on top of it. You can obviously take it as a flat push, roll the Thatcher on the top. If Maverick's on the board, he often helps, but you don't need him. At the same time, you can go underneath. You can set up a crossfire from Garage, you can push Red, you can even go to the opposite window and burn ADSs and then frag grenade or Capital, because he is still on the board. There's so many ways to get that wall down. At this point, you just kind of assume that it's gonna go down. NVK, however, almost goes down himself, and this is one of the things that they tried in the previous round, and I guess it almost worked. Bring the ACOG, hold an angle, and try and drop the bodies before they expect, and this is the aggression I said before we've seen a fair bit of in NA so far.
Yeah, just insane aggression from loading coming out pretty much across the board. See Mexican and loading both holding onto these garage rafters with those ACOGs, and really their whole point of this is going to try and take Modigger off the board before they can bring all that utility to bear. But the crossbow bolts are already going to go out. NVK going to get very brave with this, trying to peek it out. As there we go, thermocharges aren't going to go out, and that was the real crux of this last time. Mexican Disease are running young, but chooses not to shoot just yet. Drones have come out, and they're going to know that someone is droning out there. They're going to know that someone is playing up onto this garage rafters. About a minute into the round now, we'll see Evil Geniuses slowly beginning their attack as Necrox takes Cloudstruck straight off the board, and that is one of the 2 Nitros available down.
Well, as we predicted, the wall is open, but the angles are being held a little bit better this time round from Shrug. They've got themselves in situations where they can rotate and just make the ground a little less, well, fun and feasible for the sides of EG. However, the amount of utility and the balance of it completely blows not loading out of the water, and Doc follows suit. Necrox now putting it down to a 5-1 as Wrath suffers, and it's all down to the main man himself, Flynn, to see if he can represent casters everywhere and try and put an insane... No, he doesn't.
I like how you cut yourself off there as well. Just no, it wasn't meant to be. And Shrug find themselves on the falling end of this right now as EG at 2-0 up here on Clubhouse. And yeah, I think this is kind of going the way we're expecting to. Shrug hopefully going to change up their site and go downstairs instead to Church Arsenal Room. And yes, it will meant to be. With only 3 kills on the board for them right now, Shrug is getting slaughtered.
The positioning of EG, and as we saw in the demonstration of throwing grenades and making them work, the balance of utility is really coming together for them right now. It's so hard when you're under an assault that weighted and that balanced to find the exit and find the way out of it, because at this moment in time you think, well, what way do I rotate to not be shot in the face? And the kind of answer EG are going is, well, there's no way. We have every single angle and every escape route covered. Just die. Just make it easy for us and die. And I guess we'll see, obviously, as the game develops, if Shrug can start trying to find answers for those questions, seeing if they can maybe set up double. Obviously, we saw them go from adding 1 into the top of garage to 2, but it took Evil Geniuses a little bit longer, but they still got through very quickly. And, you know, it's that kind of development of the Shrug defenses against an attack that is pretty meticulous is where we might be able to start see Shrug get some ground. Caveira is on the table for the first time.
I have a few thoughts about this. I actually don't mind a Caveira pick here. Normally, you'll see like a Jackal pick being brought here, and the teams will just scan and they'll just check the footprints on the stairs to see if there's a roamer up on the board. And if there's not, then they don't even need to drone. They'll just know, okay, there's no roamers up on the board, it's fine. But with obviously Jackal banned and Caveira up on the board, I think there's an opportunity for a very aggressive roam game from Shrug here, and I've seen it be successful from teams before. I wouldn't be too confident about doing it against Evil Geniuses.
Well, that's it. You can already see Geo's drone is up here in Gym. They're, as we said, a very meticulous team. They're very good at closing down angles, and what this Caveira is hoping on is a team not being thorough. They're hoping on a team to not fully a mix of body checks and, you know, drone checks clear their way through a point, and EG are good at that. It's definitely in their wheelhouse.
Well, Caveira is also being able to play upstairs in logistics and has that little bit of a soft destruction open down onto that kitchen hatch and should be able to die any of that going through. That therefore forces a roam clear for EG, and they're going to have to chase this Cav down if they want to bring in the round, but it doesn't look like they're even that bothered about it right now. Loading, he's going to make a rotate for himself here, and he's recognizing the roam clear is coming up from the opposite side, and he's going to go for a rotate right now, but there is going to be Modigger. He's going to be outside on the garage. Raptors should be able to see him, and there we go! Oh, the panic from Loading with a drone chasing him as well, as Mo is going to take him straight up off the board, and there she goes.
It was a nice idea, and it was a good attempt, but, well, you've definitely seen that EG have woken up on the right side of the bed and had their favorite cereals, because they are here and they are well awake and well aware of all of the motions and movements you are putting down against them. They start to find themselves, I guess, clearing out the first floor before they begin their barrage against the basement, with Flynn dug in, ready to bandit trick, and Kai doing his best to hold onto the hatches. We saw Maestro being a little bit aggressive, and this is where he's probably going to find some swing as MVK starts opening up that kitchen corridor and just making the space below in Armory more and more uncomfortable for the defenders. But at this point, they've still got a minute 10 to get these hatches open, get control of Moto, get control of kitchen, and, well, get control of point.
It's very awkwardly Young just has to wait for Mbappe Geo to come down and help him out there on the motor hatch, but you should be able to get it open. And now really the push can come from anywhere for EG because they've got a lot of stuff open that they need to, but it's looking like primarily a church push to be coming down now. Fireballs are going to come down just behind the generator, behind E-Box in blue. We'll see lots of drones still coming out from EG. Just a few seconds left to go on the clock, and NVK is actually injured right. No, he's not. He's 1 HP in a dream. Oh my god. How does he get away with it, Fluke?
The power of wanting to kill people with grenades, I think. Cloudstruck does put Geo out of his misery, brings it back to a 4-4, and now it's a matter of trying to find your way down. So far, good movements from Shrug. They've pulled away from the open hatches. They've been able to set themselves in positions to get them if they drop, so it makes them uncomfortable, I say, apart from Cloudstruck, who decides to just take a moment and a breather out beneath the Moto hatch. But with 15 seconds on the board, now they've got to find their way in point. Necrox drops Flynn and finds the double as Thermite goes for the plant, but without the cover, this could be shut down from some information that's already been pinged. Goes for the wall bang, and they find it. NBK has to find the last man, and he just has to hide and shrug. With the ability of hide and seek and great information on the point to pick the diffuser out and the bravery of 1,000 souls, find their first round.
Absolutely great play from Raph right there at the end to just last second deny the plant going down. Just a round-winning kill coming out from Raph. He will put down EG, and Shrug will finally find their first round up on the board. It seemed like EG were taking that very, very, very slowly, But I think they were doing it so that Shrug wouldn't know exactly where the push is going to be coming from, because generally if you're going for that kitchen push, you want to open up dirt, and you want to open up onto the kitchen hatch, and you just want to go that way. If you want to go for a church push, you push blue, and you push the church wall, and you open up moto hatch. So kind of, you know, EG keeping their options open, and I think that's why as well that they didn't necessarily push dirt, because they know that Flynn has to play aggressively on that dirt area if he wants to deny the push. Him going down as well, it's a great shot coming out from EG, like, that really puts Shrug on the back foot there, but really good reactions coming out, and just the fact that Raft is allowed to survive in blue lets him know it's not a church push as well, on top of all of that. So
good old-fashioned Hail Mary,
yeah,
buzzer beater, bit of murder there to bring themselves their first round. Clash is the one that is pick 2. They've opted to not go to CCTV. They're going to take Gym and Bedroom instead and see if they can make it work for them. The lineup that they've got is generally the standard you see here. Castle's going to reinforce off Gym. They're going to try and have Bandit keep a bit of a hole on Jacuzzi with maybe a bit of a wall in front. That's where I'm thinking that Clash might play, unless they put her on the opposite side to try and slow the roll from Cash side.
Yeah, isn't it kind of an interesting setup with the Clash? I'm not really sure how the Clash fits into this. I'm gonna guess that Clash is gonna block the Gym door so that the Bandit can continue the Bandit trick, and I haven't seen that before. Yeah, but I want it to sound like
okay.
I said it.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, but the thing is about that is that Gym door is actually castled right now, so it kind of allows Cloudstruck, I guess, to play this a little more fluently than he would like to do.
I think that's one of the big things that they're trying to utilize as well as a team against EG, is they're trusting EG to be a little bit overzealous with their pace. They're kind of going, well, they're going to aim for this castle wall, they're going to try and drop this and drop that, and then hopefully they find a stumble. But it's often tough to stumble EG with all of this stuff.
Yeah, I often say that, you know, if you're setting up a plan that makes the other team try and make a mistake, I don't think it's a good plan, really, especially against such a regimented team like EG. But we'll have a look at how it is going to be going through, and the thing that we notice about EG is they like to take lots and lots of control very early on and just open up whatever they can, but they're getting set up on this Jacuzzi wall to try and see what they can do here. Thatchers and towers and everything should just come down here shortly as Young tries to get open the wall, and there we go. Looks like he should be able to get it open soon enough, and then we go. Cloudstruck should be able to do a little bit of info up on this area, but just see that instantly from EG. As soon as that wall's open, just a flurry of drones comes through.
Yeah, information is the name of the game, and while EG are kind of writing the book on it. Flynn has pulled back slightly, and there is Cloud just trying to hold the angle and force them with no immediacy to be able to charge in. Flynn is getting a bit bold from the information, is going to try the C4 over the top and swings it a little bit wide there. Unfortunately, can't find the quarterback skill that the murdering Jaeger had in the previous round. But again, that Clash is slowing the roll, and you can see that EG is setting themselves up to try and put pressure on the back of the point as Necrox does finally take the Bandit out of the equation.
So lots of control for EG, and all the roam setups gone down as Necrox finds the kill onto Raph there. Now a 3v5, and EG are just going straight up for their execute. I mean, Necrox has the rotation. He's actually going to move into construction. He takes down one. There goes loading. It's a triple kill for Necrox. A quadruple kill for Necrox as he takes down Mexicans all down to Cloudstruck. And Necrox is hungry for the ace, but Modigger is going to be the one who takes him down. EG take round number 4 flawlessly. And again, from EG, just having so much control of the map early on. We see that from the opposite side, Necrox is trying to get control over server and construction. We see the whole push going over Jacuzzi. We see drones going out into Gym. They know exactly where the setup is as well. But there's also just cutting off all the rotation. Look at that. Necrox is just doing the work today on Habana.
Yeah, he doesn't want to waste any time. He wants to push his way through these games. He wants to find himself at the LAN and find himself at the major a little bit further down the line. They're going to opt for CCTV. They're going to swap back to their A plan because that Gym attack was pretty flawless, and it was flawless against a bit of a shake-up as well. Obviously, they tried to pick in the Clash to, I guess, make ripples in the water, but the only ripples it made is like, okay, well, the players that are already putting pressure on the back, just come in and put a little bit more pressure. We'll draw them away, or make them start to make mistakes, as Shrug did, and then it was a little bit of an easy close down from that point on for AG. And that's the thing about them, as you said, is they are so multifaceted in these attacks. They're on every single side, at every single window, and every single corner, and if if they're not, then you can probably assume that at least one of their drones is or has been recently. Everything is coordinated, and it's all kind of coming together like a well-made watch right now.
Yeah, well, we'll have a look how that watch is going to tick as we move into round number 5. Shrug again, are going to attempt the CCTV defense, but in the last few attempts we've seen from Shrug for this has been nothing short of a disaster coming out, and EG have done really well to get early control. I think maybe Shrug could benefit from a bit of a master bedroom roam here, but honestly EG have been so good at getting like really good early control coming out, but another spawn peak going to come out from loading.
Well, I mean, he's gonna keep trying it. He's gonna keep throwing the bullets to the wind and seeing if any of them drift in the right way. They are putting a bit of an aggressive roam towards the strip side, which is, you know, if unchecked for long periods of time, we know EG spend a fair bit of time focusing on getting their garage quad wall open and then setting themselves up. So if they find one on the far side and might be able to at least pull some of the thread out of the jumper, it might end up with some good ground under their feet. But in the same time, it's EG. They're setting themselves up for the same push that they've generally running before, and they've run it very, very continually at this high standard. So I guess we'll just see if Shrug, again, if they can potentially push a little bit more attention away from the point, give themselves a bit more width on a very wide map, and find more of their feet in slightly less fish-in-a-barrel situations.
I like they play the Cade down in garage, because he can just Cade trick there very, very comfortably, and he can just make sure that the Hibana cannot get open that little tiny hole to cut off the garage Raptor's rotation. So, and it also allows him as well, just on top of that, to play a Nitro below and play that very powerful shotgun below to keep control of Lounge if they want to do that as well. But again, from Shrug, there isn't a lot of hard breach now other than that Kaid, and he's been playing down in garage. So EG should have no problem getting that early control, and already CloudStrike going to be taken off the board. That's one Nitro down. We've still got 2 more to go from Shrug, and don't forget, the Nitro in the first round was actually almost round winning. But no, actually Mexican doesn't have a Nitro, he has Impact, so it's only Flynn who has that Nitro and that Panther now.
Well, they took out the man that was on the far side roam, and now it's just a matter of diverting all their attention to the point yet again. They start to set up from multiple different sides. MVK is going to push against Red in the bottom of Lounge and see if they can get control underneath it via Garage. In the same time, Geo is creeping around the backside on logistics and construction. They're aware he's there, sure, but this is as far as he needs to go, because he's acting as the anvil now, and he's going to let the hammer of the opposite sides of the attack start to collapse against him. In the meantime, not loading, finds Necrox, but the trade comes out from Modigger, and now it's just a matter again of trying to find the bodies, and they're getting a bit aggressive as Flynn finds Young. The Jaeger finds a second, and this is Shrug kind of relishing in the fact that, well, why don't we push them?
Much more aggressive Shrug. I think they kind of recognize now that EG do this 4-on-1 push, and I've talked about it a couple times as well. We've seen that a bunch of teams do actually tend to do this now, especially high-level teams where they have 4 guys go to one end, as you said, the hammer, and then they have the other guy who's taken over a lot of control, who goes to the other side, and as you said, kind of the anvil. And I do like that kind of hammer-anvil approach. The problem is with that is while it lets you gain a lot of control very, very early on, is that if the other team just pushes you, and they take those gunfights early on, they can really heavily find you, and Shrug picked the perfect opportunities to play aggressively there. There was no garage control for EG there because of that K tricking going on, and I think that was a real crux of that defense for Shrug. If they weren't able to do that, they would have lost that garage control very, very early on.
Yeah. Well, Church and Arsenal, we're looking at a 3-2 split, maybe a 3-3 split, if they can replicate the heroics that they brought to this point in the first time round. EG, weird as it is to say, the response ball is now in their court, and let's see if they can find a way to take a point that, yes, they had a lot of the map control. They took the Roma down with a lot of efficiency, and then from that point onwards, when the push came to the shove, they stumbled a little bit, unfortunately. And again, the heroics of a Jaeger who found a body across with the good on-point information was able to keep the swing of the round in their favor, even when I think it was a 3-1, still in operators left standing. All the one had to do was hide for the remaining couple of seconds, and, well, that's the nightmare of those style of pushes. If one thing goes wrong, it can absolutely break the round. Whereas at least if you find your way through a bit quicker, as we saw on their gym push, well, you get a couple of attempts at actually trying to get the diffuser down. There's a lot more bodies going around and spreading themselves and utility around the map this time. Obviously, they've put the hard reinforcements, and now they've doubled their operator count on the top floor to potentially make it more of a firefight. Instead of giving the ground early and letting the Caveira get droned out, well, let's try and keep...
Yeah, so... Yeah, I do like the strategy from Shrug as well, and a bit of Flynn on the Legion. I think Legion's just one of those operators that can find their way into pretty much any lineup, and to be able to keep that blue control as well, it's going to help Wrath out quite a lot if Legion Mines are going to be deployed in that area, and I think the real crux of that round as well, when Wrath did win it, that it was allowing that Wrath did stay alive up in blue. But Green Necrox, he finds the first kill of the round already, yet again, Cloudstruck going to go down so early on.
That's the third time. Third time Necrox has got the opening frag against Cloudstruck.
Some people just not having a good day today.
No.
But Cloudstruck will be playing on that Maestro, so the Maestro cam is going to be a little bit less ineffective, and not going too well overall for Shrug right now. His loading is also going to be found as well. That's the Nitro off the board, and leaves only one Nitro left remaining. Wrath going to try and duel it out onto Secret Stairs, but unable to find a kill just yet. And I like this from Mexican, actually, playing very aggressively up into the main stairs.
Well, as we saw in the previous round, sometimes aggression is the right response, because if you can utilize it to take advantage of a team that's getting a little bit too comfortable on the map and you strike back, yeah, they might pick up a trade, but body for body for body, you can really pull apart an attack in that kind of setup. With a bit of bravery, you never really know what the answer's going to be, especially when, I guess, you're kind of looking down on EG 5 operators versus your 3. However, that man gets droned out, and Geo is going to put some pressure from above, throw the Thatcher at the wall, and Necrox is going to double down, and, well, see if he can keep finding his way towards higher and higher double figures on his body count. In the meantime, Mexican has decided to take a little bit more of an on-point, yet still vertical aggression, to try and find any bodies that start to roam in the kitchen to cook up some trouble. In the meantime, the hatches are starting to be cracked open, and the utility is being blown on the other side as well. This is a consistent barrage from an Evil Geniuses that definitely want to attack this with a little bit more pace and pepper than they did previously. The sledge causing a lot of issues for this shotgun to try and find some comfort, but it does find Young and the diffuser, but they will know exactly where he is now, and he has to try and keep his movement hot. There is a second as he takes NVK out of the equation and finds himself in a double with Flynn, dropping Geo in the meantime across church side.
My god, Mexican's just really putting hell in a cell right now with a shotgun. Diffuser will be recovered by Necrox here, and now is a 2v3, but there's only 20 seconds left to go on the clock. EG really got to start to move if they want to make a win here. Wrath looking at Moto, expecting a push to be coming through there. Looks like Legion Mines are going to be still deployed as Wrath finds one, Wrath finds two, and Shrug find their third round on defense. What is happening right now? What a great play from Mexican as well. And also we said, well, you said on the main stats, like him playing aggressively there, like you have no idea how that's going to be for you. Like, but it's always good to just be that kind of early aggressive. But I think he mainly did that just to take drones off the board.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because they're a big part of EG. We've commented on the fact that they'll lead bodies in with them. They'll breach a wall, and the first thing that goes through is a drone, which is actually the best way of doing it for people watching. Normally, it's, unless you're already aware of where people are, drone check. Don't face check. Drones save lives. But at the same time, if you can shut that down, if you can keep them kind of without a utility that, I'm not going to say it's a crutch, but it's a big part of how they like to play with a slow setup and a kind of big, heavy push all around one moment, the more you can take away from that information-wise, the more you can take out of the sails, well, we see moments like that. We see them trying to open as much holes a bit later on in the round. We see them almost struggling to get the initial push. However, they swapped to their
just
defense.
A couple of rounds completely thrown away by them. Some really easy early kills going in their favor, and then all of a sudden you have a Mexican below with a shotgun, and he just blows people's heads off. So it is going to be a 3-3 all tied up here, and EG are going to move onto the defense and arguably a defender-sided situation. But honestly, with the bans, I feel like the attackers still have a huge amount of utility here, especially with Capital. I think that's the big thing for me, is that Capital remaining up is a big question mark for me, but they're not actually going to be bringing Shrug. They're going to be bringing the Twitch instead.
And obviously they took off Jackal. Jackal was their ban and their removal, so I'm curious to see how much of the space of this map place that they actually want to play with. Because they've obviously thrown NVK on the Legion, who's struggling with a sticky floor there to try and make his way around on the gym side. But in the meantime, it's, you know, how much of this map are they going to try and keep hot? How much are they going to try and strike back? On this basement point, we're probably going to see it the least, I would say.
Well, we'll have a look at how this is going to be played out as Mexican finds his way through into Lounge already. And I feel like the Twitch here is just purely for gun skill. And we'll have a look at how Mexican wants to deploy all of this as we move through further into round number 7. And already that main stats control going into the favor of Shrug. So EG not really playing this as aggressively as I would have thought with, as you said, that Jackal ban.
That's it. I mean, this is a very big point. There's a lot of ways to get in. So even if you do get to the kind of places you need to crack open with pace, as we've seen from EG, when it comes to getting inside, that doesn't mean you've got control. The same way it does on, well, almost every other game in Siege. NVK takes care of Cloudstruck, who, for the 4th time today, is the first name off the board, unfortunately. But it was with some pretty precise and, well, deadly shooting there from the man underneath. And now you can see they're actually cracking their way in through Moto. They're trying to get Church Wall open as fast as possible. They are in a position here to, well, they're going to smoke it, not impact trick it or try anything else. And NVK is going to try and peer around the side and get the man from behind. Not expecting the aggression, but aiming a little bit too high. Sees the back of the IQ and pre-fires against it, but there is the shoulder cover there from the Thermite that is able to at least get one back in their favor. Flynn is in a, well, he's in less than hot water now as he gets cooked out, and Necrox is going to again find more aggression and find the double.
And Necrox is just fragging out of his mind today as Loading finds himself here in a 1v4. Still has one of those EMPs remaining, but other than that, not a huge amount of utility. We'll go for the drop through onto Oil Pit and see what he can do as he moves into blue, but there's still barbed wire up in here, as well as a Jaeger playing up in here. It's going to be Mo, tries to deal out with him, goes to the pre-fires to the crouch, it takes him down, and Evil Geniuses will take round number 7. Things are looking absolutely beautiful for them right now, and yeah, you really got to feel for Cloudstruck at this point.
He's not having the best time so far.
Is that 4 opening deaths now for
That's
Cloudstruck?
four opening deaths, unfortunately.
So yeah, half of the rounds have been Cloudstruck opening deaths. That's
but
it's not
who knows where his future might hold if he can find a way to stay alive. He might be able to do clutch aces. We might be able to see some insane stuff from him. Protect President Cloudstruck, I think, is the purpose of the game now. CCTV in cash room. We will swing up to, gonna bring the Bandit to try and stem the flow against it. Alibi has some good uses here with the amount of windows and pre-fires and positions that are often utilized by the attack.
Geo gonna sixth pick off of the castle and bring them the Mozzie instead. I actually like that because, I mean, it's always good to like hide the Mozzie and hide that C4, hide that huge amount of utility, but also potentially trying to trick Shrug into thinking that it's a gym hold rather than a CC hold, which I don't think Shrug, like, they haven't changed too much in their lineup here. Raph has moved off the IQ and onto the Sophia instead now, and Cloudstruck up on that Capital, which I'm glad to see. No longer Mexican on the Twitch as well, which I'm also glad to see him bringing the Habana. I think the Habana is pretty essential here, and we saw it with EG as well. When they opened up that Garage Rafters angle with the Habana, things were going very, very well for them. As soon as they weren't able to open that up, they lost the round.
There's not really a common point or a single point on this map, depending on your opinions of open, that doesn't respond well to double hard destruction. Every single point on this map. The basement, obviously, with all the hatches, church wall, the breakdown there, and is its own kind of animal. Up here on the top floor, you've just got so much possibility that you generally need to get control of the entire top floor to make your push comfortable and viable. Wrath, in the meantime, opens up with a pre-fire against NVK, drops him through the wall and catches him out, and that's a very good bit of momentum swing. The alibi means that, well, she might still have alibis out there that might get caught in pre-fires, but you know you've killed the real one at this point.
I really thought as well that EG were going to hold this really aggressively. They would have like a jacuzzi side roam as well, but Young unable to catch out any sprinting men outside of the garage here. As EG still holding on, but they have lost a man in NVK. It looks like Shrug aren't even going for that construction side push at all. They have managed to Habana open just the top of that garage rafters. However, as Modigger makes his way downstairs into Lounge, and Young still holding on to the garage entrance. But drones are coming upstairs in heavy amounts. And Shrug actually have a huge amount of utility up still, as Cloudstruck is going to try and Capital Bolt out the main wall. And there we go, Flynn should be able to get open that efficiently.
Well, they're still trying to find the Maestro, and this Maestro is not really giving his life away as quickly as, well, Shrug's Maestro was. Keeping just the angle held. Young with the patience of a saint is going to wait and see if he can do the killing of a sinner now, as anyone that might drift past the open door. And without him dead, they're going to find themselves in a bit of a tough spot. Misses the first little peeking duck that runs straight past, but Necrox finds loading. In the meantime, Wraths creeps in underneath, and Cloud does finally get rid of Young, but there's some quick bodies on the board as Wraths drops the trade, and well, they find themselves still the man up. With 1:10 left to go, you can see they're starting to set up their multifaceted push from all three different sides, one body apiece.
And this is definitely where Shrug want to be in. Mexican does find that kill onto Necrox. It's all down to Geo to try and find 3 if he wants to bring this in. Cells and Nitrocell are available, but it's not going to be available for too long as Mexican just baits him out, peeks the door, and takes him down. It's looking really good now for Shrug, as they've still managed to keep it even, surprisingly, here on Clubhouse. But also, you know, we talked about during the map bans, this isn't exactly a map that EG play a lot.
Yeah.
So this might be the opportunity for Shrug to bring this in. And I think, honestly, if they can bring this to Coastline, they could definitely bring in the series, but Conscious could be a bit of a doozy, I think.
It's always a bit of a roll of the dice when you go to a map like this. As we said at the very beginning, it's an often second ban throughout their run, throughout Pro League this season. They've generally taken it out of the equation. They've preferred to go to other potential maps, and, you know, and I guess in their favor, they've opted, well, we'll play this one this time and hope to get a bit of the level of, as we said, you're rolling on default strats, potentially. You might have stuff in the pocket, sure. You might have secret maneuvers that you've been practicing, and maybe you're holding them, maybe you want to run them. Either way, when you come to a map like this, where the default holds and the default ways of breaking those through are so well known, you're trusting in them and trusting in your gun skill to be what carries you through.
Actually, you know, I rescind my earlier comment about the map bans. I think that if EG do not take this map, they are probably going to lose the series, because the only good map for them in this map pool is Coastline. Consular is not been a good map for them at all. They lost to Dark Zero in the last play day, and in this second half they haven't been good at it. It's a very iffy map. That's also Shrug's pick. This is EG's map pick, and we've said a million times, we've just talked about it, this is not a map that EG normally go to. So
no.
I think, you know, and seeing how close this map is right now, that Shrug have a massive opportunity to take this map away from them and put things massively into their own favor.
I mean, if they can, it's a good mental game as well. As we said, so much of this is important, and unfortunately Flynn came in this with a slightly defeatist attitude, at least on Twitter, how they were saying.
Maybe, you know, maybe that's reverse psychology.
That's
you know,
it.
Mind games, yeah.
Well, it's made Mo Digger leave the game, at least. They're going to keep on pushing, and I guess we'll see if we get called for a rehost. In the meantime, they've got to play this round out, and with a body up in their favor, surely this can invigorate Shrug for the first time this played day so far in this game, find themselves a foot up. With the long angles, Cloud takes care of the Maestro on the top floor, and that was a big problem in the previous round.
Yeah, definitely a great pickup by Cloud Structures. Already EG find themselves in a 5v3 right now. Zekrox, NVK, and Geo are left remaining up on the point, but Shrug have a lot of control right now, honestly, with NVK playing below in the oil pit, trying to deny anyone who would dare push up into Garage Rafters right now. This is a very awkward angle to try and hold, because if someone knows you're here, it is a very easy pre-fire to get knocked off of. But NVK still going to be holding it down, still has a barbed wire in his back pocket as well, but while he's holding this, Shrugger taking a lot of control elsewhere, and that's kind of being distracted right now, as the smokes are going to go down into the site. Potentially we'll see Shrug with a little bit more of a push. Necrox still has 2 of those smokes available, he's deployed 1 of them so far, and just holding it all down. So Future Charges, however, are going to go out, and they're going to know that someone is playing around those cache stairs, and NVK still playing below, still playing patiently. I'm wondering if he's going to try and go for a rotate sooner rather than later, maybe into Secret. Capital Balls are going to go down from Cloudstruck, however, making sure that no one can rotate through that downstairs area. Nitro is going to go out, but it's going to miss. Flynn baiting it out with a plant right next to it. Geo is going to push all the way up as NVK and Networks both find kills of their own. It's all down to Flynn and Mexican to try and bring this in. Just 1 minute left to go on the clock. This is not looking good for Shrug at all, but there we go. Flynn does find the necessary pick to bring it back into an even man count. And Geo still holding down aggressively, does still see Flynn, but doesn't able to find the kill just yet.
Well, he managed to put at least a body back in the favor and swing it to half of a man based on the health against 2 versus the single body, but full health of Mexican. He has 40 seconds. He has more than enough time to at least find another way of pushing this round if he needs to, and he's going to use some of his X-Kairos to crack open a potential other side. But it is going to give away at least some of his game as he swaps the rotate out. Bit of a bait and switch, but now with only 20 seconds on the board, this is the only play he's going to be able to make, and he's got a mountain of barbed wire and a set of stairs to climb. Slow and steady is the name of the game, but it's given everything away as the 2 outlines of EG set themselves up, and a firing line finds 1, but unfortunately the double up took the body down.
No rehost called just yet, but there we go. EG is going to be calling their rehost, so I'm going to swap back up. And yeah, Shrug had a massive opportunity there to be able to find the round, but unfortunately a bit of a clinch out did come from them. I think not shutting down, I think actually that CloudShrug had the right idea of what he was doing, like sitting below in the garage rafters, knowing that he doesn't have to go upstairs in the garage. All he has to do is make sure that no one can come into lounge and no one can nitro deny from below. Good plant spot as well from Flynn, going right next to the breach and planting there, where he can get cover during this plant, rather than planting deep, where he still doesn't know what's going on in garage rafters, and he still doesn't know with the smoke still up from Necrox that could deny the plant.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing that we're kind of seeing from Shrug so far, is very good adaptation to what's going down. They're really responding well. They're coming in with a lot of aggression, a lot of kind of tenacity, and there's still the jokey defeatist attitude. We saw a little glimpse of it in the chat there as we came out of the game, of them saying, rehost, oh thank God. But it's a 5-4. They're doing really, really well. They're able to keep the rounds battling back and forth between them. So far, EG and Shrug have only managed to take 2 rounds in a row on the trot so far. It's never really been completely one-sided. Yes, when EG are doing well, it looks that way. 2 flawless rounds kind of paints a picture of they're doing very well. But you've got to give credit to Shrug for being able to pull rounds out of them.
I think we said it, I mean, you weren't here for the other NA matches, but generally when we see Pro League teams allowed to have all their utility all the time in the world and just everything going for them on their execute is absolutely flawless, and it is exactly what they should be doing, and their whole attack goes really well. But as soon as they lose like Habana or just something earlier on and they don't get control that they want to do, I think my big point as well is electricals going down in that garage kind of stopped EG getting that early control. As soon as anything goes wrong, then it all just starts to fall apart, and we've seen that from both teams, really.
Yeah, we saw that from SSG on the very first Playday, when they obviously were up against the second best Mexican team that was otherwise very unknown, and the frequency of, I think the player was Gausha, able to find a body in and amongst it, take care of the hard destruction, and pull stuff apart, and then SSG kind of stumbled, and yes, it was 7-4, 7-3, I believe was the final scores, but the amount of times that happened was because this one player had found one of these bodies, and then from that point on, it just kind of, the wheels fell off, the steering wheel popped out, and the spaceship fell apart.
The spaceship fell apart. Yeah.
I don't know why it has wheels in hindsight. I guess it wouldn't.
I mean, yeah, I guess it kind of would, but yeah, things not looking too good at all for Shrug. They are still keeping up the score, but yeah, he's still able to clinch that out. EG allowed to be aggressive on their defense. It's kind of something that Shrug was doing themselves as well. And just if they're allowed to get those kills while the execute is going on and kind of just mess up all of the push coming through, then it does go well. I think Gio played that pretty well as well, where he was just being aggressively up onto Flynn, and him able to get that kill for Flynn, onto Flynn, sorry, I think completely just set the round in motion. I think that at that point, there was very little chance of the Habana being able to clutch it out.
If we turn our gaze forward to Consulate, how much of a map do you think this is one where we can start to see Shrug pull ahead? Because obviously you've already opted and said this is a good map set for them.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think it's good that they picked up the map. I think it's more that this is a bad map for EG than it is a good map for Shrug.
Yeah.
That recently, and I'm talking about very, because EG have changed their playstyle up a lot since the first half of Pro League, since they lost Canadian, since they brought Modega in. There's been a big change up in how their roster kind of works and how their executes go down. They've lost Gotcha as well and their coach as well. So far as we know, they haven't picked up a new coach, so we're not really too sure on where their kind of prep work is, or if they're really too worried about Shrug going into this matchup. And as we said, like, picking Clubhouse as well, I think is a big kind of look into that kind of prep work what they're doing. Is like they don't see Shrug as a threat that, well, that theory anyway, that they don't see Shrug as a threat, that they just want to kind of play this to maps that they either don't normally play or that like maps that they've already played. So it looks like we're going to throw to an ad break though. We're still having some issues getting people into lobbies. Stick around. We'll be right back with EG versus Shrug.
Absolutely stunning! They are the champions!
Predict the outcome, win the game. Get live coverage and schedules for your favorite tournaments. Analyze, predict, and vote to gain points. Compete with other esports fans and climb the leaderboards. Strafe, everything esports. Download now on iOS and Android.